Hey buddies, welcome back, and I know the consistency has not been great. How long has it been? No, it's been 9 months since my last video, and I am so freaking embarrassed by that. You have no idea. But I have an idea for a changing content style that will make the entire process of creating videos a bit easier on me. So yeah, now let's get back into the actual video. Today we are coming to the pivot, the trigger, pun intended, the growth of tensions and general causes of the First World War. We are talking finally about the death of the Archduke of Austria-Hungary, who was killed in Sarajevo. The questions why, where, how, and finally what happened next shall be answered in this video. So stay tuned. As always, if you're a history student and you're not asking for some background, some context, then what are you doing? In the previous video, we set the stage for the main tensions that fueled this assassination. Austria-Hungary's empire was full of people from different nationalities, and they did not like being ruled by Austria-Hungary. The Bosnian crisis made things even worse, as the empire basically added more displeased folks into its territory. Then Austria-Hungary's government officials, knowing this, see Serbia's growth in size and influence as a result of the Balkan Wars, and finally see the potential danger and chance for a Slavic revolt. So what do? They send Franz Ferdinand to Bosnia. What? Wait, let's unpack this, okay? Alright, so who was he? Archduke Franz Ferdinand Karl Ludwig Joseph Maria of Austria was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. However, his assassination in Sarajevo, Bosnia in 1914 prevented that from happening. I am trying to hammer that date into your head because it is important. Alright, Franz Ferdinand was said to be cold, quick-tempered, and cutthroat. However, this did not stop him from seeing and wanting to fix the tensions festering in the empire. He at one point even proposed a plan to form a federation of 16 Austrian states, calling it the United States of Greater Austria. This came with some criticism, as the federation would conflict with the Serbs in Bosnia's desire to pivot towards Serbia, as we know. However, even in this, Franz Ferdinand still wanted to be careful and cautious as to not start a conflict involving Russia. So, the question we've all been wondering, why the F was he there in the first place? Well, history initially tells us that he was there to oversee some military drills with his wife Sophie, but that doesn't explain how he being in Sarajevo would have calmed down the tensions within the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Well, the wait is over, and I've gathered a bunch of information, so hopefully this clears it up for you. As it turns out, the Austro-Hungarian government wanted to wager a quick war against Serbia as a show of power. You know, ego is being bruised, you gotta polish it up a bit. They wanted to show that, hey, we're more powerful than you, even with our very unmotivated Serbs over here. Okay, we're cool. Okay, we're better than you. They sent Franz Ferdinand to Bosnia because he had already been to Herzegovina. And by the way, he had a really bad experience and still went to Bosnia. Makes you wonder if he actually wanted to get assassinated. Going on an official visit to Bosnia just made sense. Firstly, politically, because the government was hoping to impact the Serbs and Croats there, and for appearances, as the Crown Prince Rudolf did before Franz Ferdinand. It was a coincidence that at this time, the Inspector General for the Austro-Hungarian Armed Forces could not attend the military services in Bosnia to supervise due to his age, and thus Franz Ferdinand took over. In that same breath, he used this opportunity to be side by side with his wife Sophie Chotek, as the monarchy would not allow them together in any occasion because of her low social status, except for military occasions, such as this one. Too bad it will be their last. While there, Franz Ferdinand would oversee the military exercises, visit the capital where he would expect a warm welcome. However, what actually happened was what was expected, honestly. Due to the large amounts of publicity the Archduke's visit provoked, some Black Hand members in Bosnia took the opportunity to hit. Literally. They basically did that thing that people on social media do. You know, they post exactly when they're leaving the house, where they are. So basically, they're inviting criminals to just be like, oh, this person's left their house, let's go visit. It's essentially that, but at a time where social media wasn't really a thing. After arriving at Sarajevo on the 28th June 1914, Franz Ferdinand supervised the army exercises and things had gone well. The visit to the capital was next on the planner. While passing through the cheering crowds, and yes, they were cheering for him, the hidden 8 assassins prepared as their heir and his wife approached. A grenade was thrown at the car but misses the target. Then Franz Ferdinand and Sophie go to City Hall, where a change of plans is organized. However, the drivers are not informed. Yikes. After a turn into the wrong street, Gavrilo Princip fired 2 shots. So let's get into the details of that, okay? Alright, so now I'm gonna get a bit intense. As the car passed, one of the assassins could not get his revolver out in time to shoot, while another felt sorry for Sophie. You could say that the tension of the moment froze them. The third would-be assassin was ready to throw a grenade at the car, but missed. He then proceeded to take the cyanide pill. However, the pill was expired, and it gave him a stomachache. Yikes. Finally, he tried to drown himself by jumping into a 10-centimeter or 4-inch river. Yikes. Which was dry due to the unexpected drought. The police arrested him. The name was Nadezhko Kabrinovic. Sorry if I mispronounced that. The assassin ended up being Gavrilo Princip, but we'll get there. Since Kabrinovic's bomb missed, the other assassins could not attempt to complete the assassination in the moment as a result of the heavy crowds. The car then immediately headed to the City Hall, where Franz Ferdinand furiously expressed his approval of the aggressive treatment the citizens of Bosnia had shown him, which the mayor tried to resolve by praising the excitement the Bosnian people had shown him, which worked. Then Franz Ferdinand said that they would continue the trip. However, no side streets would be used, but the drivers were not informed of this change. When the Archduke and his wife went on to visit the hospital where the injured guards were, the lead driver turned into Franz Joseph Street. Then Franz Ferdinand's car followed. It was here that one of the guards shouted that they were going the wrong way, so they had to reverse. Thing is, the car had no reverse gear, so it had to be pushed back manually. And it was at this moment that they knew they'd fucked up, because a certain Gavrilo Princip was heading out of a sandwich shop and seized the moment to get the job done. He pulled out his revolver and fired 2 shots, one at Franz Ferdinand's neck and the other at Sophie's stomach. Now you know the story behind the title slide. You're welcome. In their dying moments, Franz Ferdinand pleaded to her, saying, Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children. But nevertheless, it was too late. Before the police could arrest him, Gavrilo Princip swallowed a cyanide pill. But once again, since they're all sharing the same pills, this one also failed to work, and it gave him a stomachache again. As he tried numerous ways to kill himself, he was surrounded by a storming crowd of people beating him, which if not for the police, he would have instantly died right there. When the police got to him, however, they took his gun, and he was then sentenced to 20 years in prison. It would have been death by hanging, but he was 19 at the time, so it could not be done. Franz Ferdinand's death could have easily started yet another war, specifically in the Balkans. However, we had 2 problems in the form of 2 countries, which would make World War I inevitable. Those 2 countries were Austria-Hungary and Serbia themselves. Because we have already established with the alliance systems that Serbia is backed up by Russia, who is backed up by France, with Great Britain having the legal option to help out as well. We also know that Austria-Hungary is backed up by Germany. Therefore, when Austria-Hungary's Archduke was assassinated by what the government thought were Serbian citizens, its rulers had a clear excuse to go to war with them. This was when, on the 5th of July, Kaiser Wilhelm II and the Chancellor Bethmann Hollweg encouraged Austria-Hungary's ruler to initiate violence against Serbia, and that they would support them if Russia was to get involved in the conflict. How will they support them, you might ask? Well, through the infamous blank check that was given to Austria-Hungary by Germany, essentially saying, buddy, we'll support you financially and militarily. All you have to do is ask. So Austria-Hungary was quite excited about this. Austria-Hungary still needed to find proof to show that Serbia's leaders had something to do with it, but alas, there was none. Either ways, on the 23rd of July 1914, an ultimatum was sent to Serbia containing a 6-point list of demands that they were to adhere to. Otherwise, Austria-Hungary will wage war against them. One of the points were the suppression of anti-Austro-Hungarian publications and organizations, like the Black Hand. Serbia had agreed to all points but one, which was the involvement of Austria-Hungary in an internal investigation of the assassination, which would result in the disbanding of groups like the Black Hand. It's essentially like saying, I think you ate my soup, and I want to go into your house and your pantry to find out if you have my soup bowl. Do this, and I will believe that you did not take my soup. But then you say, Heck no. You just want to come into my house and see what I've got, and you're using some stolen soup as an excuse. Get out of here. I know that is a widely different scenario, but I hope it makes sense. So yes, agreeing to that 1 point would infringe upon Serbia's constitution, which means that before the deadline for the ultimatum hit, Austria-Hungary had not received the ultimatum, which was why on the 28th of July, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. So, we're getting started. The First World War had officially begun through Great Britain's entry on August 5th, 1914. But what happened before that? Well, by the 29th of July, Russia had obviously supported Serbia, not only because of the Slavic population that lived there, but also because it needed to protect its access to the Balkans and the Mediterranean from Germany and Austria-Hungary. On this day, Russia and Serbia are also mobilizing, as Austria-Hungary is shelling Belgrade in Serbia. Then, on the 30th, the German Kaiser sent Tsar Nicholas an ultimatum, ordering him to stop mobilizing. Tsar Nicholas was like, "Boy, shut the F up." The Kaiser, obviously angry at such a sharp use of words, immediately declared war on Russia. And since France is allied to Russia, it also had to start mobilizing. On the 2nd of August, instead of happily celebrating the new month and drinking pumpkin spice teas, Germany's army was heading at lightning speed in trains through Belgium, where their Schlieffen plan was set into motion. At this point, I started to find things a little bit funny because they were just sending each other ultimatums like their love letters. For instance, Austria-Hungary is like, "Serbia, will you let me violate your privacy completely for the sake of a quick war to fix my bruised ego?" And Serbia is like, "Maybe, but wait, this? Hell no!" Then Germany's like, "Oh, hey, Nicholas, don't you see my guns are way bigger and stronger than yours? Why put all yours at risk? Come on, call it off." But then it's like, "Leave me alone, you dumb b-." And now Great Britain is like, "Listen, I'm really enjoying this isolation period from all of these bitches, so please, could you just not do this so early in the freaking century?" By this time, Germany was done playing games, and the fun was kind of over, and literally gave everyone the cold shoulder. So yes, Britain sending Germany an ultimatum is true. Maybe not the way I narrated it, and this is because they already have a treaty, which is the Treaty of London with Belgium, that was signed in 1839. Where Britain had promised to protect Belgium from any attacks from other countries, and it was signed by the great powers as well. The deadline for the ultimatum ordering Germany to stay away from Belgian borders was till midnight of the 4th of August. While they still could, though, Germany tried racing through Belgium, but the civilians there were giving them a bad time as they blew up railway lines. If a small group of people could slow down a whole army full of guns and skull hats, then just imagine what we can all do if we just put our heads together to solve all the world's problems. Okay, hippie time over. Germany was screwed, and by the time midnight had rolled around, Britain declared war on Germany on the basis of protecting Belgium. Since Britain is unfortunately an empire full of different colonies all around the world, the war that should have only been limited to Europe became a worldwide war, as we got soldiers from as close as the Ottoman Empire to as far as Australia and Canada. Well, that's just what we get for being so arrogant. Freaking wars everywhere, it's so pointless. It's kind of all been avoided, but no, let's fight again. And then 21 years later, another war is orchestrated for the same things. Oh my god, history is so wicked. Ugh. But it's okay, because that is just the start of the war. We still got a lot to do. But don't think I forgot about my quizzes and the exam-style questions. I'm not so cruel, dears. I'm not. The first question is, Franz Ferdinand visited Bosnia in 1914 for the following reasons, except A, to go prancing around in public with his wife, B, to step in place of a recently vacant position, C, to keep up appearances as a royal, or is it not D, make an official statement to the discrimination Slavs faced in Bosnia by the hands of the empire? Choose wisely. Number 2, which of the following statements are true? So, the way this is gonna go. Basically, A, B, C, and D are all points. Now, which of those points are actually correct? You answer on the second column. Moving on. Austria-Hungary shelled Serbia on the 28th of July, 1914. Russia accepted all but one of the terms given in the German ultimatum. By the time Germany had replied to Britain's telegram, its army had already entered Belgium. D. Serbia asked Russia for help, and the next day, Russia started mobilizing. So which ones are correct? Is it the combination of A and C? Is it the combination of B and D? Is it only D? Or is it the combination of A and D? We shall see. Number 3. When did the First World War start and who started it? A. Germany on the 4th of August 1914. B. Austria-Hungary on the 28th of June 1914. C. Serbia on the 29th of July 1914. Or D. Austria-Hungary on the 28th of July 1914. Alright, so those are the quizzes, and the answers are, for the first question, D. For the second question, 4 or IV. And for the third question is also D. You're welcome! Moving on to the exam style questions. So, first question is, even though Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia and began the domino effect, what was Germany's influence over the outcome of this decision? So essentially, how much of a role did Germany play in Austria-Hungary deciding to declare war on Serbia? Discuss the motives of each of the great powers going into war. So, the question is self-explanatory. Do that. Okay, time is up. For the first question, some of the points that you can use are the immediate influence, which is, of course, the blank check that Germany gave Austria-Hungary. You can also mention some of the main points that influence all of the growth and rise in tensions. You know, the fear, the ambition, and the suspicion. For Austria-Hungary, fear can be seen in Russia. You know, they're trying to not go to war against Russia. Ambition can be seen in trying to gain access to the Balkan market. And suspicions can be seen in Serbia, you know, because of its increase in size. Moving on. Number 2. When it comes to discussing the motives of each power, you can talk about the anime, as in the alliance system, nationalism, imperialism, militarism, and economic rivalry. You can talk about that. Alright, moving on. By moving on, I mean that's essentially everything. So that marks the end of the context era of this playlist, honestly. Next, we're actually going to move into the actual war, what happened, all the guns, the trenches, and all the other sad stuff. But a quick warning, next video will be very, very different to the one that you're seeing now, alright? Just be prepared for a bit of difference, a change. And yeah, it will come as a bit of a surprise. So I hope you're as excited about it as I am. Yeah, goodie. So I'll see you on the next one, because this is me. This is a nugget. This is another. Bye, cool.